Hi, I'm Sue Boo bringing crafting to you. Today we're going to make this adorable little treat holder for a Ferrero Rocher, and we're going to be using the Under My Umbrella stamp set and punch. We will also need the trio punch and a 1 3/8 punch, or you could use any circle that will fit a Ferrero Rocher through. Okay, so we need to start with a piece of card. I've chosen Misty Moonlight and it measures 7 1/16 by 2 1/4. Okay, we're going to score that at 2 inches. Make sure you have put your cutting blade out of the way. Score at 2 inches. Move along then to 2 1/2 and make sure it's your score blade. Turn around 180 degrees and again score at 2 inches. Make sure it's your score blade, and then again at 2 1/2. Okay, now what we're going to do before we burnish our score lines, we are going to we're going to use our trio punch. So I'm going to round each of my corners. So I'm just going to put the trio punch, the card in the trio punch, make sure it's all the way to the edge, and then just round your corners. Flip again to 180 degrees, round your corners again. Okay, make sure it's all the way in. Then we're going to use this pretty flower edge, and we're going to punch again at each of the corners, making sure that it's fully in and it's giving us a pretty edge. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to have two pieces, one for the top and one for the bottom, that measure 2 1/8 by 1 7/8. And again, we're going to make sure the top edge, the 2 1/8, we are going to again round the corners of those two top edges, and then we're going to do the flower print again, so it will be like that. Okay, we're just going to repeat, so make sure it's your widest edge you're using, and it doesn't matter which way round you do it. You can either do your flower first or your rounding of your corners, it makes no difference. There, that's beautiful. Now we're going to stick these on, but you're going to notice that the holes will not line up, so it will just give it a bit more added interest. So we're going to make sure that we've got even at either side and the top, and as you can see, it just gives it a shadow effect. So I'm going to do that on the bottom. And make sure again it's even all the way round. That's that, and then it gives it that lovely shadowed effect again. Right, I'm just going to set this on one side because we need, for the base, for the Ferrero Rocher to sit in, we need a piece of Misty Moonlight that is 3 inches by 3 inches. Bring in my scoreboard, trimmer back, making sure that I have got my score blade and not my cutting blade. I'm going to score at 1/2 inch, so I'm going to use this side of my trimmer. For when you are doing small bits, this is ideal. And I'm just going to keep rotating it until I have scored at 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. So just going to rotate that round and then just carry on. And this is my last one. Now before we cut our corners to make our box bottom, we are going to use our punch. Now to make sure that we are getting the punch as close to the middle as possible, I've cut out from a piece of copier paper the circle, and I'm just going to stick just a slight dab of glue on the back and position this in the centre. So I'm just going to eye that, position it in the centre. Just going to put my pin back in my glue so it doesn't dry out. Then we can use our punch, take it all the way in and get as close as you can. Now you'll see that there is a little bit of an edge that we don't, but just get it as central as you can. There we go. And then just remove your white bits. Now we're going to score. Sorry, we've already scored. We're going to burnish all our score lines. And then we are just going to cut up just to the left slightly of our score line, and then we're just going to wedge, cut a notch on either side, just like that. Then we'll do the same on the other side. So we're just cutting up just before that score line, so it takes the score line edge off just slightly, and wedge it at either side. Then I'm going to spin this around. On the opposite side, we're just going to do the same. We're cutting up the score line, then we're going to just notch either side, cut up the score line and notch either side. Now you could use some tear and tape here. What I've got is some little pegs, and I'm just going to get 4 of my little pegs out. These are cheap, I think, might have got them from the range or somewhere, but they just hold it in place while the glue is drying. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the edge and make sure that your edge of your tab is meeting with the edge of your box. Then all I'll do is place a peg on there, and that will hold it in place. I'll do same again with this one, making sure that it's lining up. And then we're just going to stick a peg on to hold it in place. That's a little bit of glue on there. Round up with the edge. Always move it if you're not quite happy with it. And then our final one. I'm just going to line it up. There we go. And then just use our peg. Then we're just going to set that on one side. Okay, now we're coming back. Just let me put my pin back in my glue. Now we're going to burnish our score lines. So we're going to fold these up into the centre. And then we've got that in position. Now, what you need to do is you then need to glue this base down either side, and you're going to stick that in the centre down there and do the same on the other side. Because I'm using wet glue and it takes a while, I've done a Blue Peter, and here's one I've done earlier. So this is now thoroughly glued to either side. So I've got my box ready forming. Now what you need to do is the Magenta Madness. You're going to use the raindrops from the Under My Umbrella, and you're just going to randomly just do in either navy blue, or you can use the Misty Moonlight to make the raindrops. To save time, I've done that, and all you do on top is then just again ink up your boots, and you're going to put 2 lots of boots there and then cut them out. So this is what I've done. The raindrops are random on the boots, so that's just footy cut out, so they're completed. I've also, under my umbrella, I've cut out using my under my umbrella punch, I've stamped my umbrella, and I've stamped it on to some stripy. This is Flowers for All Season, Flowers for All Season paper. I've just stamped it on and then put it through my punch, and it's punched out. So I need 4 of those. And then I have 1/2 inch by the 8.5 cardstock that we have standard in the UK, and I have just cut 1/2 inch out so that we can punch out the umbrella stick part. So all I'm going to do is fit it into my punch, and I need to punch out 8, so I need 2 of these strips, and I'm just going to punch out. I'm going to tear it off so that I can pop it back in. So I'm going to punch out of each of these strips. I will get 4 of my umbrella sticks out. Making sure that I line it up correctly. That's 3. And then rip it off again. And the last one. Oops. Last one going in there. Yeah. Even if you've got the 8-inch wide card, I think it is, that is standard for, I think, America, you should still be able to get 4 out if you do an 1/2 inch strip. Now what we need to do is we need to glue 3 of them together. This is because we need them to make a closing part for our treat holder. So by gluing 3 together, it makes them more solid, and all you're doing is putting a bit of glue down them. And then just putting one on top of the other. Just make sure that they're all 3 are pushed into place, that they're all identical. Just make sure. And so that is your thick one, and you should have one thin one left as well. Okay, so I'm just going to put those on one side, and then all I did was stamped the 2 flower images. So I have stamped this image and this image, and then I have coloured them in using my blends. So I thought I'd not do that on camera. I've done that off on camera. It's quite easy. I've used basic grey or slate grey, and I've just stamped it and then used my blends to colour these in. It is Highland Heather, the light purple posy, and Daffodil Delight, the dark one, and then Daffodil Delight is just, the lighter one is just in the middle. Okay, so bring our box back in. So what we're going to do is we're going to first make sure that we put in the handles in place. So on one of your sides, you're going to slant your umbrella stick so that it's slanting off to the right hand side. And then we're just going to glue this, adhere it to the top. Don't need to go all the way up because of course that's going to hang over the box. Now we're going to put that in position and then grab one of your umbrella bottoms and you're going to make sure that you can put it roughly about there. So we're going to use some of our dimensionals now and we're going to stick those either side of our umbrella so that we're leaving room for the umbrella stick handle to go through. So I'm just going to peel those off and I'm just going to put that in position so it's coming down about there. Okay, and then we're just going to put the other one so that it's tucked underneath. Must have done it a bit. There we go. Doesn't matter if it over hangs the side. We're not going to put any dimensionals on this one. We're just going to stick it on. But before we stick that on completely, one of your single ones, you're just going to make sure it's facing the other way. You can stick that to the back of it. Put a little bit of glue on the handle itself and then just pop that in there. Okay, and then the flowers, we're just going to arrange the flowers. I'm going to take the one that's got the no centre and that's going to go on the edge like that. So we're just going to put a little bit of glue on there and pop it in position. Just making sure that you're covering the top part of your umbrella. And then the next one is a little bit smaller and we're just going to put that on, no, it's this one there, and that will tuck it underneath there just like that. And then we'll turn it the other way. Now this time we've got to make sure that it will close and that your umbrella's handles are linked together so that it will be in the closing position. So just make sure that you can put it down enough so you can push it and unhook it. So we're just going to put that in position. Again, just close it together, make sure that they are going to fit together. There you go, there. And then I'm going to get my dimensionals again and put a couple of dimensionals onto either side. Just enough room so that the handle will fit between them. Take off my backs and then put that a little lower this time. And then we're going to take the other one and we're going to put glue directly on this one. And then we want the other single umbrella handle. And we make sure it faces the opposite way to the one that you've put on. And then position that slightly sideways, like that. And then we'll just get our flowers again. Doesn't really matter which one you use. And then put those on the top near the handle. And then put the other ones on the other side. Tuck in a little bit underneath like that, and that is your Ferrero Rocher box for the moment. Finish. Oh, we do need the glue, sorry. And then I'm going to get a pair of my Wellingtons, and I'm just going to put glue on the bottom. Oh, and sorry, I forgot to tell you, I did another piece of the Misty Moonlight DSP, and I did it 3/8 of an inch by the 2/8 on the bottom, and then we're just going to stick the Wellingtons there, and I'm going to do the same with the other side. We're going to have the Wellingtons about there. Now we're just going to get a scrap piece of card, and just let me put my pin in my glue, and we are going to use our I'm going to use the Misty Moonlight Stampin' Right marker. I haven't bought the ink pads. This is a way of making your money go a little bit further. So I'm going to ink up my sentiment. Might have used the wrong sentiment. Don't know whether this is... I think I've picked out the wrong one. Yes, I have. So sorry about that. That's the wrong one. But this is correct, this one. So I'll do this one first and then get the other one out. I've used Showered with Love for one side. So just make sure it's well inked up. And then breathe on it. And then stamp it. Now, it doesn't matter if it's wonky because we're cutting that out. So I'm going to get the other one out now that it's your day. So that's the one. And then again, I'm just going to, oops, get the piece that's come out. I'm just going to ink this one up again. Your day. Make sure it's well inked up, and then I'm just going to breathe on it and then do that. Perfect. Okay, so just let me put my lid on so they don't dry out, and then all I'm going to do is just fussy cut around the words. So just let me chop off a bit of my paper so it doesn't get in the way so much, and I'm just going to twist my card around, so I'm moving my card and not really my scissors. So I'm just going to round it round the end and then bring it back up, just a little dip for the end of that letter, and then I'm just going to round this, so it really doesn't take very long at all. And then I'm just going to stick that on the front. You could use dimensionals as well on this part. I'm just going to stick this on now. I did use dimensionals on the other, but I've not done on this one. And then just cut some of this card off so that it's more manageable. Okay, and I'm going to just go in and out of my letters, moving my card. Round we go. Around we go. And then around the end of the S. In and out. There we go. And so that's cut that out. I'm going to spin it round. just put a little bit of glue on the back. Just position it on the front. There we go. And here's the one that I've made already. I changed the colours of the Stampin' Blends that I used, and sorry, and there we go. And all you do is just unhook it to get to your Ferrero Rocher and rehook it back up. Well, I hope you liked that. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.